Welcome back to Mic Mayhem. My name is Joe, and today's topic is all about being exposed. Let's dive right in. First story is called "Am I the asshole for exposing my future brother-in-law's shady past to my family?" I'm 37 and I have two younger siblings, 28 and 27, and my sister recently got engaged to future brother-in-law, 23, after dating him for around a year. We all know him well, and I have always got along with him. He comes from a rough background, but he has always been very polite and charming. He doesn't talk about his own family or about his upbringing. My sister said it's a painful topic from him, so no one ever pushed. There was recently a family event which brother-in-law attended. He was quiet during the day. He normally is high energy and sociable, then disappeared for a while. When I went outside to get fresh air, I bumped into him. He was emotional and said it was a hard day for him due to negative associations. He ended up offloading some quite shocking things from his past, including that he had history of very serious drug using, including needles. I felt for him at the time because he was so upset, literally crying on my shoulder. But afterwards, I felt more and more uncomfortable. I still feel bad about him since he clearly regrets it, but it's very shocking to find out what kind of history he had, and it does make me feel differently about him. Obviously, I told my husband what brother-in-law told me because I didn't feel comfortable keeping it to myself. I also told my sister because I didn't know how honest he had been with her, and it could impact on her decision to marry him. She was angry and said she was fully aware and it doesn't make her think less of him. I know others might disagree, but I decided if my sister and brother-in-law weren't going to bring it up, then it was my responsibility to make sure my family had the information they needed to make an informed choice about what kind of relationship they have with him. My parents agreed that it was the right thing to do and were grateful. My brother said he could see my point, but didn't think it was my responsibility to share that information. My brother's wife thought I was out of line. When my sister found out I told our family about brother-in-law's sketchy past, she was very angry. She is now refusing to speak to me altogether because apparently this had affected brother-in-law quite badly. They are no longer engaged because he thinks he's not good enough for her, and no one in the family has seen him since all of this happened. Obviously, that wasn't my intention, and no one said he isn't good enough. I think it's naive to pretend that you see some exactly the same way after finding out that they're an addict. Whether you like it or not, there is a risk that comes with this lifestyle, and relapse are common. I'm concerned that my sister will get hurt, and I don't think that it's reasonable for my family to have access to the same information. I do, especially when they are inviting him to our homes and there are children around, etc. Am I the asshole for informing my family about my future brother-in-law's background? Yes, you are the asshole. I was reading the story and it got worse and worse and worse. And be grateful he trusted you with this information. He trusted the wrong person because you were going to tell everyone. If you told your husband, I understand. And if you told your sister in a way, I could understand. But obviously you couldn't say like, hey, your husband, your future husband told me this and this and this. You could have gone around it as like, hey, my brother-in-law opened up. It was pretty traumatic, Get to know each other, vibe it out, not this way. Who are you to tell around this guy's backstory? Who are you? I mean, you even had the audacity to type it out, and you didn't find out when you typed it out that you were being an asshole. But the top comment has to say, you're the asshole. Brother-in-law's story is for him to tell, not you. They didn't bring it up for a reason. Your sister has every right to be angry with you. He confided in you. And what did you do in return? Told everyone so they could make an informed decision. Would you like someone to tell your parents your secrets without your permission? No. And with that being said, we'll move right on to our next story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And the next story is called "Am I the asshole for giving my mother-in-law a fake copy of the house key and exposing her on Christmas dinner?" Now, I know this is a famous one, but we'll read it. I want to preface this by saying that I, F, 34, married to my husband M, 37 a year ago. His mom is snoopy and annoying as F. She can't help it. It's just how she is. as my dear in-laws say. My husband and I purchased a new house recently. My mother-in-law kept pushing me to get an emergency key. She promised that only to use it in emergency, but given the fact that she had an emergency to our old apartment and walked in on us being intimate twice, but my husband didn't think it was a big deal, I just couldn't trust her, so I just sent her a fake key after she kept pushing, and she had a smug on her face after I hand-delivered it to her. Days go by, and on Christmas dinner, mother-in-law angrily called me out on the fact that I gave her a fake copy of the house key. She shamed me for doing this in front of everyone, but in my defense, I asked her how she found out, and she said days ago when she came over at 4 while my husband and I were out. I reminded her, didn't you promise you wouldn't use it unless there's an emergency? So you tried to get in when there was no emergency and you broke the promise that you made us? She looked red in the face. Oh, and the other family started staring, and some even laughed at her for the face she made. She suddenly got up from her seat and rushed into the kitchen where she had a huge meltdown, so loud the next door neighbor must have heard it. Literally, I've never heard a 60-year-old plus woman throw a tantrum like that. Needless to say, dinner went awkward and my husband and his sister were giving me looks. My husband went off on me in the car and said I lied and manipulated and humiliated and exposed his mom, and said he wouldn't even have let me get away with this if he had known. We had an emergency and he is demanding I apologize to his mom for this childish behavior and ruining Christmas dinner for the whole family. Am I the asshole? No. I love this story. I mean, you caught her red-handed and all she could do is throw a temper tantrum. What kind of 3-year-old is this? But she used it for emergency and walked into you guys being intimate or whatever. She even tried to break in. It's breaking and entering. Even though if she had the key, you're not the asshole. You protected yourself and it wouldn't have been brought up if she didn't bring it up. So that's up to her. Not the asshole. I would rethink my marriage if my husband put his mother over me. That's also a thing. He did choose her over you and he went off in the car. Weird. Why would you do that? It's weird. Someone else says, you're not the asshole, but your husband seems to have no problem of you being humiliated and shamed in front of people. He seems to have no regards that you need your privacy and dignity. Amen. Amen. Here we go. On to the third story. Am I the asshole? Exposed my stepbrother as a liar, which has caused my mom and his dad to fight. Throwaway, for obvious reason. On mobile, please read everything before commenting. Thanks. So, me, 15F, and my stepbrother, 17 mil, have never really gotten along. My mother married his dad when I was 11, and we were just never bonded. My mom often tried to encourage us to bond, but he never tried. His dad acted like he was perfect because he had always got better grades than me, was better in sports, had better friends and stuff. He was good to my mom and me, but it was clear that his son was super important to him, and it was annoying how much he did for my stepbrother. Well, I found out that he wasn't so perfect. He had been telling our parents that his band practice was being extended by an hour, but I found out it wasn't true. He had been hanging out with his bandmates and often going home and making out and stuff with one of them. Who was a guy? I collected all the evidence I could and left it on the table for our parents to find. It was stuff like pictures of him going out or some screenshots from his friends' stories. Well, they found out and they were mad. They called him down and he got into serious trouble for lying to them. After he was grounded and set up in his room, I heard my mom admit to his dad that she knew he had been lying and sneaking off to see someone, but she thought it was a girl and was mad that she felt lied to. This led to an argument between them, and as he misread it as homophobia rather than her feeling tricked and lied to when she did him a favor by letting it slide. The argument got so bad that she sent my mom to sleep in the guest room and then went behind her back and ungrounded his son after they had a talk. I feel so bad now that I caused a fight between my mom and him. My mom has reassured me that I did the right thing, but I can't stop thinking how it's my fault that she's been kicked out of her bedroom. Did I mess up? Am I the asshole? The thing is, with this story is that you're 15 at the time, and it was, let's see, 4 years ago. So you should have been around 90, 21, 20 now. In puberty, you do a lot of stupid stuff, and I understand you got mad at your stepbrother and wanted to get back to him and break even. But this wasn't the best way to do it. You could have just gone to your stepbrother and confronted him with the information, which should change his tune more. But you should never expose someone or drag them out of the closet if they are not ready for it. This is a story or a thing they need to tell themselves, just like with the brother-in-law's past. It's something they need to tell themselves. And if you're forcibly exposed, it could have done major damage if it didn't already. So yes, you are the asshole for what you did, but I can chalk it off a bit more as stupidity of a puberty. But still, you are softly the... Now, we go to the comments, and Reddit being Reddit, they could become harsh, so a bit of a trigger warning. You're the asshole, jealous and homophobic. Why does it matter that he was seeing a guy? He likely wanted to avoid this exact scenario where he's now been outed and betrayed by his own family. Someone else says, you're the asshole. I was outed to my homophobic family at 17 and it was hell. Frankly, how dare you do that? He wasn't endangered himself or you. Your parents treating him differently is an issue with them, not him. This was horrible and cruel. And, for the record, your mother is homophobic. If she wouldn't have cared where it was a girl, but it cares it was a boy, she knew it was a relationship. She also had no right to know his sexuality. People come out to different groups when they're ready. He would almost certainly have come out to them when he was ready, and it probably would have gone over more smoothly if he had a time to work out on how to do it himself. You created a mess by being vindictive. Do you have any idea of the damage you inflicted? I hope these comments weren't too bad. On to our fourth story, and before we go there, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if there is a story you want me to read, drop it in the comments. Fourth story is called Am I the Asshole for telling my wife she acted like an entitled brat as she threw a temper tantrum at a steakhouse? Me, 28, and my wife, 26, have been together for 12 years and have 5 children, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 male. Also, to give context, my wife was one of my mother's students for a private school she worked at, and I met her when my mom asked me to tutor her on some subjects she struggled with. Also, I and her father, 64 male, are very close. In addition, my wife is currently 30 weeks pregnant. Recently, a high-end steakhouse near us reopened. So last night, my wife, children, and father-in-law went there for dinner. My wife heard about the shrimp they had at an appetizer and talked about how excited she was to try it all day. As I expected, once she tasted the shrimp, she was extremely disappointed. I also tried it. It tasted all right, but nothing insane. But to my astonishment, my wife literally started crying from disappointment. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Our waitress was an absolute angel, but about halfway through the dinner, my wife literally gave her hell. I will spare you guys all the details, but her doing that thing where people would tap the glass on the table to get the waitress' attention should tell you all you need to know. But the worst of it was when my father-in-law, he was paying, asked me to calculate. Meal altogether was around $300. The tip and right when the waitress walked by us, my wife pointed toward her and told my father-in-law, "Don't tip her." Of course, since my wife is my father-in-law's biggest moral weakness, he listened to my wife, didn't tip her anything. Of course, I was absolutely livid and left the car immediately after. Once my wife, father-in-law, and children came back into the car, they asked me what was wrong. I asked my wife why she didn't want father-in-law to tip the waitress. She responded by saying her and their companies scammed us both of the appetizers. She was talking about the shrimp. I simply said she acted like an entitled brat and didn't talk to her for the rest of the day. After we got back home, my father-in-law tried talking to me. He said that my wife's slightly rude, but calling her that was extremely rude, and I shouldn't have made my wife cry in front of our children. My wife usually isn't like this, and the pregnancy hormones are probably affecting her. but her behavior yesterday was just atrocious. Am I the asshole? Yeah, you are the asshole. Definitely for the way you wrote this, but you acted out of line. I understand. I understand your wife is pregnant, and having so many children back to back to back is taking a toll on her body, her hormones, and everything. But you could have been a bit nicer. Edit from OP. I keep seeing this in the comments, and I am starting to get pissed off by it. So I will say it in the post. I do not force my wife to have our children. That's something we both agree on. So please stop acting like pregnancy is a crime I did towards my wife. Actually, she was one who brought up the idea of no birth control. Man, that is an edit. Jeez. Someone said, your wife has given birth every year since she turned 20. You have bigger problems than some shitty shrimp. Edit, it's a you're the asshole for me. Something stinks about the husband's response and the family dynamic he's describing. Another top comment says, holy fuck, if your wife has popped out kids every year for 6 years straight, I would forgive her anything and ask her if you can't get her the pillow and a drink. What the fuck? Oh, you put a doggo family? Give the girl a break. Edit, I wasn't even thinking about judging anyone. You're the asshole. I was so shocked by the reproduction issue. She is the asshole at the restaurant, crying over the appetizer and totally prego hormone thing. I can relate, but everything else very assly. OP shouldn't call this prego wife name in public either, though. This whole thing is cringy. Please get a vasectomy. Yeah, he should. He is not allowed to have kids. On to our last story, and it's also from True of My Chest. I accidentally exposed that my best friend was faking a life-threatening illness to their own mother. This happened to me when I was in junior year of high school, and it still baffles me. So for a little backstory, I have a friend where we call her Kelly in our high school that I had known since 6th grade. We were really good friends and had been since she came to our school and district in grade 6. Well, when she came to our district, she made it a point to tell everyone that she had a condition called cystic fibrosis. Not only did she tell everyone she had it, but she had a massive story to back it up. If you don't know what cystic fibrosis is, it's an inherited life-threatening disorder that causes horrific damage to your lungs and digestive systems and shortens your lifespan to under 50 years of age. It's a horrible condition that causes a million different issues and basically makes your life a living hell. This was easy to believe both as an 11-year-old and as a grown teen because she just so happened to be sick quite often, which she contributed to this condition amongst other things. Also, I dare you to question someone on their allegedly medical condition, especially one as awful as cystic fibrosis. I cannot emphasize how big the role of this played in our friendship and Kelly's friendship with everyone around us. It's even got up to the point where we cracked little jokes about it to try to lighten the mood surrounding the situation by hand. One day this came to a massive car crash of a halt. My junior year, Kelly's mom, who has been a teacher, transferred to our school and was the teacher for one of my classes. I was good friends with Kelly, and her mom was nice and good teacher, so I got pretty close with her as well. One day we were doing some work and her mom, my teacher, was sitting at our table going over work with us. I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I cracked a joke to her mom and said, I guess it's Kelly's cystic fibrosis acting up again, huh? Her mom looked at me like I had 12 heads and said, what did you say? To which I replied with, Kelly has cystic fibrosis, and she looked at me, deadpan, and said, no, she doesn't. I had to explain to her mom in front of the whole class that Kelly had been telling us, everyone since the 6th grade, nearly 6 years at this point, that she had cystic fibrosis. I've never been more horrified and embarrassed in my life. The worst part was that her mom forced her to apologize to me, and she blatantly ignored her mother and never did actually apologize. I'm not sure how that conversation went down at her house, but Kelly and I pretty much never talked again after that. The look on her mother's face still haunts me to this day, and I still have trust issues from the whole thing. Truly a horrifying experience, and I wish I could take it back, but I guess it's good because it deterred me from furthering being friends with a manipulative and pathological liar. Oh my god, what kind of story is this? Oh my god. Damn. Sixth graders are weird. I mean, 11-year-olds do the wildest things. Of course, I understand that, but this is horrible. Saying you have a medical issue, I understand. We all want attention and we have been there, but I don't remember it doing this way. Definitely not. But cystic fibrosis, geez, that's a tough one. And I understand this OP has like trust issues now because if someone says they have bronchitis, it's hard to believe, unless they cough, of course. But still, I understand the trust issue. Yeah, that's a rough one to end it on. Unfortunately, there are no comments, so we just have to sit here in silence and think about what this woman has done. But having said that, it's the end of the video, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below if there is a story you want me to read.